exploration of the deep roads in the heart of the Dwarven kingdom, Orzammar. Once one of the 12 great Thaigs, Orzammar is now the last bastion of the dwarves, or so it was believed prior to the announcement of the rediscovery of old Kalsha Rock. Orzammar has, since the time of Endrin's Stonehammer and Orset Goral, served as the capital of the Dwarven Kingdom, which translates to close to 2,000 years. Originally the centre of the mining and smith castes, Orzammar rose to its height with an increase of trade with the Tevinter Imperium and the surface. The move proved a fateful one, tying Orzammar's fate to the surface in complex ways that are single-handedly responsible for Orzammar's very survival. These connections to the surface are a fundamental concern that links Orzammar's internal politics to its brethren that make up the Merchants' Guild on the surface, and the black markets established by the Carter. Lyrium is the lifeblood of Orzammar, its only wealth. This makes the mining caste powerful, and they have in the past used this power to blackmail the city in their own interests. Their hard work in neighbouring Thaigs and along the Lyrium veins has paid for frivolities like surface wine and silk, but also necessities like food, which during the height of the Dwarven Kingdom had been grown in outlying Thaigs now lost to the Darkspawn. When that trade is disrupted, either because of difficulties in Orzammar itself or because of conflicts on the surface like the Orlesian Civil War, Orzammar faces famine and starvation, which in 941 Dragon leads to riots among the lower castes.
Did that messenger who came through camp have any news about Orzammar? The food shortage?
More riots. There's unrest from Dust Town to the Diamond Quarters.
Can't have the Deep Lords going hungry.
I made sure your mother and brother are safe.
That wasn't necessary.
You're welcome.
How long can Orzammar hold out with trade disrupted?
We have reserves of food supplies to last a few months, but the king wants trade resumed before panic starts.
Despite the fragility of the system, Orzammar remains resolute, and to most of those in the higher castes, trade simply occurs. Despite serving as the capital and the last bastion of the Dwarven strength in the south for 2,000 years, Orzammar does not stand as alone as one might think. When the gates were shut in -35 Ancient, the surrounding Thaigs determined lost and Kalsharok, Gundar and Hormak abandoned to their fates, Orzammar still retained access to the deep roads through its mines, which serve as the main entrance to and from the deep roads to this day. These mine shafts remain permanently under guard, but life does exist along these ancient thoroughfares, serving as trafficking tunnels for the Carter, as a final rest for the Legion of the Dead, and as an enticing opportunity to uncover riches beyond imagining to the reckless adventurer. In fact, many of the old Thaigs have been lost and then recovered countless times throughout history, though none have been resettled. Ortan Thaig was only lost in the Fourth Blight, and Bunamar was the front line until the very beginnings of the Dragon Age itself. Up until 930 Dragon, the mining caste was operational in nearby Rooston Thaig, and in 941 Dragon they were active in the Lyrium mines near Hedron. But Orzammar's history goes back prior to its role as the capital of the Dwarven Kingdom. The only information we have specifically regarding the founding of the Empire and Orzammar itself comes from Dwarven legend. Shaper Seabor, the Shaper of Memories in Orzammar, will discuss this at length with anyone interested in actually confirming this for themselves, because I will admit the story comes with the air of the ridiculous. Simply ask him to discuss Orzammar and then question him about the caste system and he will tell you the story. I'll brush over it briefly here, but I promise that this is lore that we're given, and the fact that it sounds strange is on BioWare and not me. The Dwarven Empire was founded by 7 dwarves. These 7 were brothers, who each went off to make their own caste. Leaving aside the fact that Thedas is married to the number 7, almost as much as the number 9, we will assume for a moment that this story is true, even though the Shaper of Memories himself will claim that it's a legend, and there is no mention of Titans or the original ancient dwarves to any of this. It was the brother Orzammar, founder of the mining caste, who dug the mines that formed the foundation of Orzammar the city, which supposedly took his name. Orzammar's current layout is based on this same caste system, with tiers that keep these castes separate, but its original appearance was actually closer to Dust Town, which is all that remains of ancient palaces, now inhabited by the casteless, and the bones of the old city. Orzammar today is an engineering feat, constructed over millennia, settled over a pool of molten lava with lava falls running along the walls, which provides both light and heat to the city, as well as a natural defence and some artistic flair. The highest tier is for the noble and warrior castes, and is centred around the royal palace and the Shaperate where the memories are kept. As one descends into the commons, where the merchants have the true power, the primary centrepiece becomes the Proving Grounds, set into a pillar of rock in the centre of a lava pool connected by the single bridge. Dust Town is hidden away further back in the caverns, out of sight and out of mind. Below it all, the fiery river of lava flows endlessly. The gates to the deep roads are sealed, and have remained so, holding against the Darkspawn since the Blights and the time of Paragon Iduken, who will be addressed in next week's video. Orzammar currently houses a population of 100,000. Its passages are vast and large, and space is at a premium, so much so that there have been debates as to the merits of turning the Hall of Heroes, the passage leading to the surface, into living quarters, though this idea has not quite taken hold. Presumably this premium on space is due to fears of compromising the structure of the Thaig itself, as the mining tunnels, passageways, staircases, palaces, old construction and even deep roads highways do currently exist, taking up a considerable amount of space. It does not appear that Orzammar is capable of expanding particularly far outward without breaking into tunnels either infested by the Darkspawn or undermining the structural integrity of the lava cavern itself. Even in Dust Town, actual housing is beyond the reach of many, as it costs significant amounts of money, which is why Rika Brodska has become a noble hunter, and a castless dwarf hero Ferelden is running with the Carter, according to in-game dialogue options. Up in the higher tiers, these concerns about structural integrity are expressed by the Assembly when it comes to adding new estates, and the Diamond Quarter itself cannot be expanded. Merchants have to compete for permits to sell their wares to nobles in the Diamond Quarter. Shop space quickly turns hands as it becomes available, such as when Barat's shop is immediately replaced by Janar's armourers. And even those wanting to establish kiosks in the Commons must prove that they have traceable ancestor lineage for at least 3 generations to even qualify. Orzammar is a packed, crowded city, full of people of all castes, which can hardly survive without its lifeline to the surface formed by its Carter and Merchant Guild connections. It has been under siege since the First Blight, despite small attempts to win back areas of the Deep Roads, and regardless of expeditions to reclaim other lost Thaigs, and has, until recently, considered itself very much alone. Its people breed Brontos, create moss wine and lichen ale, and subsist on Nug and the generosity of their trading contacts at the surface. Orzammar certainly feels like the last bastion of the dwarves, even if its reach is not so limited as they might have us believe, and even if there are obvious attempts in the higher castes to cling to the tradition and the old way of life. Orzammar represents a dying world, a world that was all but lost in the First Blight and has been slowly drifting into nothing ever since. There are important tensions at work in Orzammar's politics about the role of the recently rediscovered Kalsharok, which will not recognise its paragons or its king, and about their links with the casteless and the dwarves that inhabit the surface. It's this conflict that makes up the heart of the true debate between Prince Balin Iduken and Lord Pyral Haramont, who represents respectively a breakdown of the caste system and assembly control versus the respect and honouring of tradition and the old ways. With the dwarves currently suffering a massive birth rate crisis, and old traditions keeping even many of the casteless from fleeing to the surface, Orzammar faces a choice: change and survive, as Kalsharok did, or remain as they are, until the Darkspawn finally breach their defences, and the city is overrun. That's it for me, guys. Next week we'll descend into the depths of the Deep Roads and explore the mysteries of the Thaigs surrounding Orzammar. If you like this content, please consider sponsoring me on Patreon. Every little bit helps, as I have no other source of income right now, and these videos do take a significant amount of energy, research and production time to create on a weekly cycle. Special thanks to my current Patreon supporters, without whom content like this simply would not be possible. I'll see you next week.